allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Craig Scott, Mark Serbrook,
Present.
Ron Vaughn, Brad Newbecker, Jenny David.
Here. Any adjustments or corrections to the agenda? Commissioner Scott, any adjustments or corrections to the agenda? Okay. Item 2, public comment. Tom is going to do a automated, we just discussed this morning for this repeated version that we did here. So on December 10th, 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved a resolution 20-77 to adopt rules of procedure that include a structure for public comment. Each meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for public comment. The first public comment period is limited to topics that appear on the meeting agenda. A second public comment period is reserved for public statements on any matter or issue that is relevant or germane to county government. Persons who wish to address the board are required to comply with the following: 1, state your name for the record; 2, speak only to the chairperson; 3, stand behind the podium when speaking; 4, limit comments to 3 minutes or fewer; 5, follow the direction of the chairperson when speaking. Board rules do not impose restrictions or on subject matter. However, the failure to follow the direction of the chairperson will result in not being able to talk or being removed from the meeting. The board chairperson reserves the right to sound the gavel when the audience applauds or derides a speaker. The board thanks you in advance for your compliance with these rules. Is there any public comment? Any public comment on the phone? Item 3, we got appointments. 3A, Mr. Kevin Diebold and Kelly Jones related to the storage unit property. Come on up, guys.
Morning.
Morning.
Board does have the calculations, Kelly, that you sent, so they've got that to work from.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So we got.
Kelly and I have met, and we would like the board to consider selling us that brown building lot over there that is pretty an eyesore to the county. Kelly and I would like to split the lot, clean it up, tear the building down, and to grass and make it look more presentable. Okay. Kelly and I hired Bond of Rosa to do an appraisal of the building. The appraisal came up. You can see on further pages. There's second page here, the market conditions, the parcel size, and giving the parcel fair market value between $5,000 and $7,000 for that parcel. Kelly and I would like to offer the county $6,000. It's going to cost us $5,000 to tear the building down. It's going to cost another $5,000 to fill the lot and seed it and put sprinklers in there and make it look presentable. I'd like the county to entertain that and see if you guys have any questions.
Questions?
No question.
I haven't looked at it very much, but it sounds like a good idea to me. So a joint venture here or what?
Yes, we're going to split the lot. We'll pay for everything. We're paid for, they have it tore down. We're going to split the lot and Kelly will take half, I'll take half. That way nobody can ever build there and we're going to make it look more presentable because it's a mess back there.
Awesome.
Just if the board is interested in doing this, before we take any other step, we need to gauge that. And then I would suggest that you direct me and perhaps one of the board members to sit down with Kevin and with Kelly and go over this and come up with a proposal that we bring back to the full board.
What's in there right now? I have not been, I was in the other one, obviously, before they started construction, but what's in, have you made a trip over there?
Yeah, primarily old files that the treasurer needs to keep for reference. And there are some HR records that are in there. But they literally are files there, and I believe that with the number of filing cabinets that we have sitting empty at the correction facility, we've got plenty to bring over and likely talk to the sheriff about a spot in the old jail in the sheriff's office and store it there. Frankly, it'll make the documents more accessible, more readily accessible to the treasurer when they need it. So from an operational standpoint, it would actually be an improvement. Building itself, honestly, Kevin, you gave an estimate of what, 5,000 to raise it.
Kelly got the estimate to tear the building down.
I mean, all right, I would hope it could be done for that. The building's not in that good a shape, frankly. It's been left for, I don't know how many years without much in terms of maintenance on it. And it does raise to the level, at least to some of us, as an eyesore, and it would probably be better not there than there.
It is a hassle to have to go over there. I have stuff in there too. There's actually quite a bit of stuff in there from my office, but like all my old files have already, in hopes of this, cleared out quite a bit of the court files. But there's still more, but it's all,
And we have no use for land
Easy to
other
get
than
out.
we want to clean it up. It's just that you look back there, it's an eyesore. Kelly's got a nice building. We've got a nice building. It just doesn't fit.
Just soon keep it, tear the building down, clean up a lot, make it look presentable and own it.
For what purpose?
We're not making property across the street anymore for us, I guess. I don't know. 20
I mean, I'm
years-
asking.
20 years from now, we might want to put something there. I don't know.
You're gonna only be allowed to put something very tiny there with the current zoning setbacks. The lot is so narrow between his building and mine. There's not gonna be much that's gonna be able to be put there. Do you agree, Kevin?
I agree, but I'm gonna be honest with you here. Craig's comment does carry some weight here. The only thing you can use that lot for, in my opinion, is in the winter snow removal, and put your snow back there,
Mhm.
because you got the drainage back there.
Or parking.
Or parking down the road, yeah. I just want it out of there because it doesn't look good. And I think Kelly agrees with me. It just doesn't look good.
And I just tear the building down, make it look good and still own it.
Craig, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah,
But
and
it just
and
needs to
allow you to drive out your back door if you want to. I don't care. Because you have a door on that side of the
No, I
building.
don't.
Don't you?
No. I only have 6 feet back there.
I thought you had a garage door on the back.
No.
Well, if you wanted to, I'd let you drive across the yard.
No, I don't have grass door.
I just, it's just like we're fixing up the day treatment center. And, 10 years ago, somebody might have said we'd tear that down. Should have.
We probably should have.
Do you have enough parking over there, Mr. Debo?
I got plenty of, it's Kevin Elliott, by the way. It's not Depot.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry.
Right.
This is Kevin Debo. I knew that. I apologize.
We have plenty of parking. We have plenty of parking,
On our agenda.
Oh, it does say.
Yes,
See, I'm
yes, it
sorry.
does.
I think we've spoke one time in the past, so forgive me.
Kelly.
We have plenty of parking. Our thought is if we have to expand, because our office is full and we're still growing, we may have to put an expansion on and go into our garage, but we have plenty of room to do that. Should we have to do that?
So you don't currently have an issue with parking
I
for,
don't have any, I have the lot right next to
Your
my
customers.
building there. If I needed to park there, I could block top that and park there.
Hey, we might just buy your building from you.
It's gonna cost you some money.
Commissioner office.
It's gonna cost you some money.
Okay.
your building is beautiful.
Thank you.
did some nice
But that's when we want that clean up. Kelly's got a beautiful building back there. She's adding another building back there. And between our building and her building, and then we look at that brown building and we're like, this just doesn't look nice in the city.
Kelly, this is the first interaction that we've had. I just want to ask something out of you going forward. First of all, I appreciate you're a very successful businesswoman in this county. So I do want to commend you on that. However, going forward, as far as from a commissioner standpoint, as far as verbally, socially attacking us, which you've done twice now since I've been here in the past 3 years, just going forward, if you could call, talk to us, talk to me specifically. I was attacked, which was not factual. If you could just make a phone call, talk to us. I wanted to say this to you. I've not seen you. That was not too far back that this occurred. Just going forward, just so that we can hopefully mend that relationship. If you have any questions, please feel free to come to the meetings, ask questions. Again, everybody's right to their opinion and have every right to vocalize it, but just to get the opposite facts would be appreciated.
Well, the facts are, I care about where my tax dollars are going, especially when I'm constructing, multi-million-dollar facilities here in this county and in the city. I really care about where my money's going.
Agreed, but some facts are put on there. Again, I don't have social media for partly because of this purpose, but some facts are put on there specifically about me that were not factual related to Lee, which Again, we cleared that
I
up.
feel like we should talk
and
about this outside. This isn't on the agenda. I feel like this is a discussion we should have at another time.
You're sitting in front of me. I wanted to put that out there, just going forward as far as from a commissioner standpoint. If you have any questions as far as our decisions or anything, please call us, come to us versus bashing us.
I don't really feel like I was bashing you, but I feel like that I stated some facts and some concerns that were very valid to multiple members of the community that I associate with. So I really don't take it, I really am not apologizing that you take it as bashing, but I really feel like there's some serious issues going on.
I don't disagree with that, but again, facts and some of the things were definitely not factual, but anyways, going forward. I would like to take a trip over to that building. I have not been over there. I don't care what we do with it. I agree 100%. It is a bad view.
It's a nice one.
Absolutely.
Fans or butts about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you drive through town, and you guys are fixing that one building up, now you can have that brown building there, and it's like, I just tell everybody the county owns it.
I agree with you 100%. And maybe this is something even with those monies that infrastructure that we're able to, could you look into if we could utilize those funds to at least tear that building down?
Well,
Guess it's not building infrastructure, but
yeah, if we're gonna receive an offer and the folks making the offer are offering to tear it down, I don't think we wanna.
How would we want to do?
well,
We're only offering to tear it down if we buy it. Hey, Tim.
And Craig made the comment, no, so again, this is just part of the discussion. We have some monies there that need to be spent. If this is not agreed upon to sell it to them.
Right, sure. I
um,
understand it. I was thinking, I got lots of other ways to spend that.
I
I agree, but
I think supporting two businesses and putting that land back on a tax roll is a better idea than using money that we could spend on other things. I don't know why we want to waste all that money on doing something like that.
do we have adequate with that daytime treatment center? There's adequate parking over there. We have adequate content. That would be my only issue. Besides that,
There's plenty of
I
parking
don't see an
there,
issue
sure.
at all.
I think we're more concerned about trying to do something with the annex building and the sheriff's department, using that money for that kind of venture. I think that's much better use of that money. That's just my.
Mr. Serbrook?
I go one way or the other,
So
quite frankly. I mean, that's, I think it's great that, Kevin and Kelly would like to take and purchase it, and I don't have an issue with that at all. And I see Craig's point as well. So
I see both.
I'm
points.
on
I
the
just want- I just want to
fence.
clean it up.
agreed. We need to make a decision because Kelly came to us last year, or the year before with a offer as well. So, and we kind of stalled on that. So I agree. Let's make a decision.
But
Commissioner
again,
Vaughn I'm sorry.
but again, we're only buying it to split the property. We're not putting anything there. We just cleaning it up, and Kelly own half, I don't have, and we're just gonna make it nice between those two buildings. That's our goal.
Is Commissioner Vaughn on the phone? He's not. Okay. So what do we want to do, guys? We want to put this on the for a resolution
Sure.
of what? Speak, guys.
So
Okay, so want to put that on at the next meeting?
Okay,
Or do you want to put this on the next committee of the whole for further discussion?
I think we can move it along. I'll probably be calling you for just some direction on some wording in the resolution itself, but we can talk about that.
Okay,
If you want it on next week, it'll be on next week.
you feel like that's moving too fast? Or are you good with this?
I'm good with it. I don't frankly, well, I'll keep my opinion to myself. This will be fine.
Okay,
I have some pretty strong opinions about that building.
which we're asking,
Well, that little building, I think it's more of a problem for us than it is an asset. Just the way it says right now.
I agree.
opinion is yes
Tear it down.
to
Right, I would like to, again, have another commissioner and I sit down with Kevin and with Kelly just to go over the details, what we're willing to negotiate for cost. And you've heard a number, typically just simply accept the first offer.
Correct.
You talk it through and come up with a number that everybody's okay with. And maybe that's a number everybody's okay with, but I don't want to get us locked in on that just yet, so.
So why don't we choose to put this on the next 2 weeks from now to be on the committee of the whole, so that gives you guys time to further discuss. And then the meeting thereafter, so that would be the last meeting in September.
I'd be more than happy to sit with Tim and Kevin and Kelly and
Just get a hold of me, Tim. We can set some up. The only reason we came with 6,000 because it was halfway between.
Agreed.
with the property.
If we have time after the meeting, I can take you over there. Literally, you're gonna walk in and
Well, if Mark and
I think we
Tim
should do that. Maybe
can
everybody
get
should go
together
look at
Before the next meeting.
Pardon me?
I said, if they can get together before the next meeting, why don't we just do it then?
That's only a week. So let's
Say we
not rush
got,
this,
you
make
know,
an
you got the
adequate,
holiday weekend coming.
Make an adequate-
I think it
make a decision, yeah.
compressed. I think we need to,
We're bargaining, so.
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I got you.
get kind of a full agenda again next.
Make sure this is an informed decision. Okay, perfect.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Thank you, Kelly.
Chair, before you
Jones.
proceed, I neglected to raise my hand when it came to the
Agenda.
approval of the agenda. If we could add a closed session at the very end, a brief one. Just to
Contract
bring the board up to date on bargaining.
Okay,
If you're gonna make a little bit of a change to the agenda, maybe we can take care of Kelly's other issue right now. Then she doesn't have to sit through the rest of the meeting if she doesn't want to.
for the showroom auto detailing lease agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Kelly. Come on up.
Hey, Craig, can you move the insurance part up too?
Yeah, hey.
Hang on, where are we looking at? The Management liability insurance proposals, liability insurance proposals? Okay. Okay,
so we're moving both of those up to appointments, adding a closed session.
yep, so we're gonna move
Sorry about
E up to B. Just, it's fine. Okay, your lease agreement, showroom auto detailing lease agreement.
There's a draft resolution that you see already prepared on here. This is almost a routine annual thing. The way this lease was written is that the board needs to consider it each year about renewing it. And there's absolutely no downside to doing it. I don't want to leave Kelly hanging like we have in the past. I got this thing on the file now so that it comes up in advance of its expiration. And there's no scramble in March to think, oh no, we forgot. So it's fairly routine and I don't, again, see a downside to continue.
Nothing changed on it, correct? I
Nothing
read through
changed
it.
on
Yeah, so I don't have a problem. Anything to add, Kelly?
It would be nice, like we said, if the building gets tore down, because we already maintain around the brown building now. And as soon as all of my construction gets done, I'm gonna redo that pavement out there and either seal coat it or do something with that parking area. I don't own the property, but like Kevin said, it's an eyesore and I don't like the looks of it. So I'm going to be, I don't know if I need to approach you guys for that, but I don't know if you've noticed that pavement behind the building that you guys are renovating, the lot, I think, I wish I brought my paperwork. I'm not sure which lot it is, but it's the one that's directly in front of the brown building where we use for parking. So I want to either repave that or I want to freshly seal coat it again to where it looks nice and brand new again. To where we have that whole area looking beautiful. Like I said, I have multi-million, I just got my new appraisal back on my new facility, my current facility. I have over $1 million in buildings there, and I want it to be a very nice first impression when my colleagues from around the world come to my facility. Not just in the country, but I mean, once the COVID thing opens up, it's a global training center is what I'm building there. So I would like it to look much more impressive on first impression.
Questions, guys?
I'm fine with extending the lease.
Is 1 year good enough, or do you want to make it 2 years or no?
We do it year.
I think we should continue. There hasn't been any issues. Continue doing what we're doing. Okay, so that will be on our resolution for next week. Okay. That was simple.
Okay, thank you.
Liability insurance.
Tim asked me to stay if you had any questions.
questions, guys? I looked this over. It was kind of hard on, I should have printed it off.
Just a nutshell review. We did put the RFP out for our insurance package again, as we did last year. We did get 2 replies. One reply was, we're not going to reply. The other reply was from Diebold Agency. We have really the summary of the document that was sent over in response to the RFP. It's plenty of pages as it is, but there's massive pages of details. So if you're ever interested in looking at some of the very specifics of what these policies are all about, it's available in my office. I'll be happy to share. In the packet, you have a summary sheet that was provided. It's on the bottom of that first page. Total on the coverage is 218,708. That's considerably more than what our current fiscal year budget has. It was in the neighborhood of about 180, as I recall. But I want you to remember that we have added cybersecurity to the package. And of course, now you also have other experience with the county that had to be factored in as well. So while it is a marked increase, I don't think it is as stunning as maybe it might first appear, again, because we've added things to the package. Otherwise, any questions for Kevin? I'm sure he's got the details all memorized. Stump the vendor, we call this.
I would make one recommendation to the board, though.
Please.
We have a situation with travelers where we have a number of claims, okay, that aren't good. We still have an ongoing claim we haven't finished yet across the street because Jack has not got back to me, the one we talked about. You put this out for bid 2 years in a row, no one's bidded. Travelers, I'm afraid that if you have no claim, they're gonna walk away and you're gonna have insurance at all. You may want to consider saying, we're gonna stay with Travelers for 3 years and work with them. I'm just making a recommendation to you because if this continues and they have a claim, you can't get a bid anywhere and you have to go to a surplus lines market, you're talking $400,000. I just make that recommendation to the board. As a business person, you ought to think about it because you know the claims. Have you seen the claims?
Yes.
They're not good. So I'm sure that's why you're not getting any other bids because of the ongoing claims. That's a recommendation I made to you because then Travels has said back, well, they're going to stay with us. We'll work with you. I'm just bringing that up to you.
With his price, I'm sorry.
As I said, supplement what Kevin has said, the RFP went out, it did say a 3-year commitment. And I'll add from an administrative standpoint, while it's just an RFP we send out, it does put additional workload on me or who's ever responsible for putting out the RFP, because each of the firms that thinks about responding have a number of questions. They want to know where the properties are. They want to know what the values are. They want to know claims history. And they actually need a 5-year history of claims so they can do their analysis. And that's pretty time consuming, putting this out every year and doing that. This is a type of a service that is kind of like an audit. You want to do it like in 3-year blocks, and that way you get some stability, you get some familiarity with the agencies that you're dealing with. They get familiar with you, and I think from just an operational standpoint, it's a much better scenario.
The only reason I bring that up is because you tell Travelers you're going to stay in 3 years, if you have another claim, they're not going to say, well, they did it again, we're just going to walk away. I'm nervous because of the claims Oklahoma County's had. I really am. And if you end up, if Travelers said, you put it out, let's say you put an RFP out next year, Travelers says, we're not bidding this year, too many claims, and nobody else bids. Now what are you going to do? You're going to end up in an excess surplus lines market and you're going to pay over $400,000. I only bring that up, it's your call. I'm just trying to let you know, as a business person, I would suggest that.
What would be if there is a 3-year contract right now, I'm reading this right, $218,708. Would that be would that
No.
be?
They're not guaranteed.
That's
They're
where I
not
was going with that.
Yeah.
So right, well, what would be next year and the year after?
Well, tell me what the claims would be out there, what the price would be, because if you have no claims, I can tell you your price could be the same or less. If you have claims, your price could be more. It all depends on what the county does. I can't control Sheriff's Department, how many accidents we have. I can't control the lawsuits you get, but I'm just saying, if everything stays the same, price is probably gonna stay the same. I mean, you think about it, we were able to negotiate Travelers, at least to do a renewal for you. We've always worked for 30 some years for the county and we've always been here to help you. And we moved you from company to company to save you money. So you'll know that our company will work behind you no matter what happens. But I'm just saying to travelers, there's a reason to do that, because then you're showing commitment to the travelers. Even if you have some claims, they're not going to walk away. They'll come to the meeting and talk to you too, just like I am. So it's just my recommendation, Jenny.
No, it makes total sense. I was just wondering over the next,
I
and
can't,
correct, everything you say, I disagree with, but then it's also hard in our
Right.
situation to say, hey,
That's all.
we don't
Yeah,
know what,
That's all.
you know, what the,
We want to twist your arm.
well,
just
what you
like-
can always do is you can say, yeah, we're going to take the renewal. And let's say they came in at 300,000. Oh, wait a minute, we better go look around. And we would help you do that too. I think you'll find out our company's been right up front with you for years and years and helped you on every claim you've had. I think you know that, and the previous people know that. Just my recommendation. You know, if you want to see the book, it's this thick.
no, on here was enough.
So what do we need to do, Kelvin, to take and do the 3-year commitment?
You just say, we're going to stay with
Just do
Travelers.
a resolution.
Yeah, we're going to stay with Travelers Insurance Companies over the next 3 years for our insurance package. I think you do that with your county and things like that, don't you?
We have it fast.
Yeah,
It just protects you from, let's say you get 2 lawsuits next July and you put it out for bid. Travelers says, we're not bid. That's my concern.
Oh, it's a valid
Well, I
concern,
think it's gonna take a
100%.
couple of years to clean up our record to get somebody else to bid,
I understand that.
because this is 2 years in a row now that we've had a company not want to bid because of our loss. And there was another bidder last year, but it was that pool that cost way a lot more upfront.
They never bid it though.
No, we didn't end up getting a formal proposal.
But
We didn't get one from them?
their deductible starts at 50 grand.
Right,
Ours is 1,000.
right,
So there's a big difference there.
yeah.
It's
It
also,
is. I'm
also,
not saying that. I just meant
Right.
it
It's also-
was way out of.
it's also appreciated that you guys are open to communication. You're quick to
I don't have a
respond.
problem. Let's go ahead with the
You're
resolution.
across the street. So that does play a big part in this
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
I think Brett can tell you, we answer every, Sean gets back to everybody immediately and to Tim immediately.
Amazing to work with.
I just wish we could reciprocate that.
I won't bring that up, Tim.
I'd like to see a resolution after
Perfect.
a 3-year commitment.
If any of the commissioners have any questions for me about the insurance, feel free to call me. We'll sit down with you anytime, go through the entire book if you'd like to. It'll make you sleep at night.
Well, that'll help. That really helps, yeah.
It's kind of frightening. Thank you, sir.
All right, you guys have a great.
Have a good day.
Thanks for your, everything, guys.
thanks, Kelvin.
See ya.
3B, Mr. Spencer. I totally knew his name earlier. How did you mess that up?
Part of our equipment replacement plan.
Oh, this isn't part of the cremation thing?
No, that's a tough opener to beat. I'm glad you guys have in front of that. Be advised of what's on the front page. There were some changes made to
Oh, my goodness.
things like the Freedom of Information Act that allows some information about our network and everything to be exempt from disclosure. So that's why there's a cover page to this. And if you have any questions, please be diligent about the information that's within this packet. Especially information about the make and model and whatnot, because that could potentially open us up for vulnerability. Reached out and got quotes from 3 different vendors and 3 different terms, a 2-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year option. And basically what it is it's a quote for a replacement for a firewall. We have 2. We have a primary and a secondary. So that way, if one fails, it automatically rolls over to the other. I don't know when the second unit was added for sure. It appears at around 2016. The primary unit was added in 2014, so it's pushing 7 years old. Quotes came back for, obviously, on the right-hand column, on the right-hand side, the 5-year option is the cheapest per year when you divide it out. There was a lot of things that we did annually before, and I think you know from the phone presentation that if you commit to the cost up front, it becomes cheaper when you buy it by the long term. I have no plans in changing any of this hardware. I don't plan on going anywhere, so I don't really see any need why you couldn't commit to the 5-year upfront and save some cost. We're gonna need it anyway, so
That's what you're recommending?
I'm recommending the 5-year option from the vendor CDW for a total cost of $10,219.49. If you add up on the sheet, the cover sheet, the totals don't match for the 5-year option with the secondary device. And that's because if you look, they're charging us $76.49 shipping.
So this is the one you're recommending.
Correct. I'm gonna try and get that shipping removed. We're buying 10 grand worth of equipment. I know they came in below the others, but it's still that mindset that they're charging us $75 shipping, $76 shipping on $10,000 worth of stuff. I think they could eat that too. I'm gonna try, but I can't make any guarantees. So
10,000 one time for 3 years,
5 years,
5 years.
5 years, one time for 5 years.
correct.
1 year is
Well, actually, they didn't do a 1-year option. They did a 2-year.
2, 3, 4.
If I said 1 year, I
2 years is 8
apologize.
grand. 3 years is
2 years.
almost 8 grand.
2 years from CDW will be $2,644 per year. A 5-year option is $1,669.60 for 5 years per year.
Okay. I got it there. Per year.
Right.
We're not paying per year. That's a one-time cost up front, but you divide it out by the year.
So is there gonna be upgrades? I mean, obviously, if we go with this 5-year plan, I mean, you're gonna have to do
Yeah.
periodic upgrades to this. Is this part of the cost? Is this?
This is part of the cost. There's 24/7 support. This includes, there's things for filters, like it filters where our internet. So if you click on a website and it arrives from a foreign country, it'll block it.
Okay,
Things like that. That's all part of this. As far as upgrades go, hardware wise, it's under 24/7, 365 maintenance. So if, say the primary unit fails, the secondary unit kicks in, they'll send us a new primary unit. That's all covered in this. As far as upgrading the model, I see no reason to do it for the next 5 to 7 years. This one has lasted 7, so the model that we have now.
so you receive good service from this company.
Very good.
When you need them, they're, okay.
Correct.
What's your recommendation?
I'd go with the resolution.
5 years.
According, 5 year, according to Tom's recommendations.
We have the funds for that?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you for the complete report,
estimates,
free estimate.
absolutely.
Thanks for going out and doing all that.
I'll tell you one thing. Last night I got it about 8:15 from the CDW. They were not in the lead.
Oh,
I was, SHI was in the lead on it.
oh,
Well,
I
and
got it last night.
I mean, your recommendations is obviously the one that falls right in the middle, not the 14,000, not the 7,000, but the 10,000. And you gave us rationale behind it as well. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any
very good.
questions?
No, I don't have questions. I have a hard time programming.
Pardon me?
I have a hard time answering my iPhone.
3C, we have Treasurer Karen.
I do need those back. I'm sorry.
Oh.
You want to keep the cover sheet?
I wrote on mine.
That's all right.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's just because of that exemption. I can't have that.
I just want to write this price on there.
Thanks.
Gonna hang on to mine for the resolution, but I'll give it back to you when I'm done. Sounds good.
You're right on up, Karen.
I'm right on up.
You're
Good
up.
Timing.
Come on up.
Good morning.
Perfect timing,
Good
Nick.
morning. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were starting early today. Sorry about that.
Great, Karen's been gone and we just email blasted and you're probably not monitoring email.
I
necessarily,
wasn't.
so.
Good
I
for
wasn't,
you.
but I am feeling a lot better. Finally getting back to myself.
Oh, you were,
I had gallbladder surgery.
oh,
Yeah, so, but feeling a lot better now.
good.
So you're reviewing my job description for a new accounting clerk in the treasurer's office. Yeah, I want to hopefully get this in place. She starts on Tuesday. So hopefully we can get this adopted at your next board meeting.
There were some spelling errors on that, but not a big deal. You can fix that. You have, it's that whereas. Oh, maybe this wasn't the one. I'm sorry, let me open it. I was reading it last night. I've seen some spelling errors on something.
There it is.
We'll double check everything.
Yeah, I did spell check on it.
Okay, maybe this one wasn't it.
And I
Well,
don't see whereas anywhere.
I guess we don't need to do a was this just for our review? We don't need to approve this, do we?
You do. What we're trying to do as some of these positions open up is actually create the job descriptions as the people are being hired. And I appreciate that this is sort of a piecemeal approach, but any job description the board needs to adopt. Now, typically, you see these things in mass. You have somebody that you hire to do a study and they put together all the job descriptions for you and you just approve them all. Typically that would have happened, 30 years ago and it hasn't. So we're playing catch up. And as these positions are filled, we're trying to catch them. Now, you will be seeing soon a proposal to try to get everything else through an RFP. We'll talk about that later, but the short answer to the question is yes, the board needs to approve all job descriptions.
And it's nice to review. It's nice
Yes.
to see them, but I would think between the department head and yourself but okay, that was a question of mine. I mean, you obviously agree with this.
Yep, Tim gave me a template. I tweaked it to what I feel is the best suited for the position that I'm filling and had him review it again. And I'm happy with how it looks and the wording of it. I did fill out the PAR form for my new hire. I'm going to start her off as an L1. After a year of training, have her settled in and some cross training in the office, then I would bump her to an L2 when she's taken on those additional
You mean that
responsibilities.
person,
That person,
not her.
that person
Okay.
that's being,
Right.
filling this
I
position.
just want to make sure
She's
that.
already hired. It's just her.
Well, I want to make sure a him could be in that.
I didn't hire him. It's a her. Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
All
This
right. Well, the
position.
next one.
So you're starting them at the
Yeah.
entry level is what you're
I am
explaining.
starting them at entry level
Okay.
because they don't have the training and experience.
Okay.
She does have a great profile to bring to the table, but I feel like they need to be trained specifically for the position and then cross-trained with other responsibilities, and then they can move to an L2.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks,
And
Karen.
good morning.
Good.
Mr. Blamer.
Yes, sir. Well,
What was this tire purchase?
Yeah.
A lot of money. Holy smokers.
A lot of tires, though.
78 tires.
I seen it, but I was just like, whoa, I don't know nothing about tires.
we buy these from this same company year after year after year.
Okay,
They sell them to us at what they call a government purchase price. There's government and there is school price. They'll sell them to us at whichever is less. And for this year, it's $106.44 a tire.
wow. Is that an increase?
Oh, yeah.
That's cheap for.
Actually, I did look when I went to
Mustard.
the office this morning, and that's exactly what we paid last year.
Oh, okay.
We bought 78 tires last year too, so.
They take back 33. There's a cost. to
We
that.
took 68 back last year.
Yeah.
I think it was $2 a tire. This year, they'll still charge us $2 a tire. And when they bring the tires, they'll just take the old ones. We have to document where we dispose of our tires, how we dispose of our
Mhm.
tires. That's pretty important, so. Like go to Schmitz, they're charging you $5 to return a tire. So this company is doing it for $2 at this point. I think because we're buying the tires from them.
Who's Miller's Tireman? Is this somebody that comes right into the,
Oh, yeah, they'll bring them right to us.
Or-
Ours,
where are they out of?
I believe Saginaw.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So this is right before winter, getting some new,
Yes,
Better
and
tires?
end of budget year,
Right
you
on.
know, we're gonna spend the money. And we are probably gonna be close to 100 grand below budget for 2020 or 2021.
wow,
Just
Thank you.
can't spend the money.
That's
we
okay.
appreciate that.
Well,
Okay.
it's not good.
Don't have to.
My situation is different than yours.
I know, but you don't have to.
Also, Ray, thank you for, we discussed that at the last meeting, approved those last
Yes.
minute monies, but thank you for applying those, and you're gonna have some improvements to your building with those monies. is
Well,
what it
it's
sounds.
gonna take a while, but
Hey, we appreciate that.
okay. What else was I gonna say? Also, anyway, I haven't mentioned it to Karen yet, but I told MDOT that we don't want this month's state operating either, so they cut us off. Because otherwise, we're just gonna have to pay it back. If I don't spend all of my money, the money that they give us monthly is based on the budget that I submit to them, and we're not gonna hit that number, so we don't wanna pay them back, so we're just not gonna take it for this month, and in a couple of years, they'll figure out how much we owe them, and
So if all the money's not spent, when that millage, which comes around again, do,
This is out of the MDOT money. So
yeah, the MDOT,
it's got different flows of revenue.
right. This is MDOT money. This
Okay.
is, they pay us monthly, and it's called state operating revenue.
okay,
And then we get federal operating revenue also, and that's still based on how much we spend with our budget.
Ray, did you contact them and tell them that you're declining that?
Oh, yeah, I just haven't told you.
Okay, because I don't have a way to stop it through Sigma.
Right, oh, I know, yeah,
Okay.
but it won't be coming. So,
Okay.
yeah, I did that a month ago.
All right, thank you.
So, I guess the big thing with us is we can't find the employees. It's just a mess. School started, we don't have enough drivers. It's terrible.
are you able right now to provide the services that are,
No. No, they wait down there waiting sometimes an hour. When we've got a bus going to Skidway and Rose City. You know, and I've got them spread out throughout the day. So we've got, the 12 hours of coverage, and they're working well over 30 hours a week, part-timers. Some of them want it, some don't.
so do you see something that we would be able to do to help you recruit or retain, or?
We're not getting any applications, period. They just, or they'll give us an app and you'll call them for an interview. No,
So it's not a wage issue, it's not?
I don't believe so, but there again, and Tim and I have discussed this, and I don't know what's going to happen with this new contract, but there are places in town that'll start people out way more than what we start out at. And they're a cashier.
Right, that's what I'm asking. I mean, has there been people that you've interviewed that, and then all of a sudden you present them with the package and they're,
No, I haven't even got to that point. I had one gentleman that was having a tough time getting his DOT card, his medical card,
Mhm.
because of his blood pressure, and he assures me now that he's got it under control, and he's going back again for another physical, and he's gonna pay that one himself, because we've already paid for 2 of them, so. But then he's gotta be trained. He doesn't have a P endorsement, doesn't have a CDL of any kind.
oh,
So that'll take 3 weeks or so. Well, and I am training a gentleman that I just recently hired. And he's being trained as a dispatcher only at this point, and then in time, he will eventually want to drive, but now he's happy with just dispatching, and he's learning that, and that takes some time.
have you been in contact at all with Michigan Works?
I gave up on Michigan Works this month. I've had something on their website for a year almost. It's
Have you tried the Indeed that we're now using for county?
a lot.
Indeed,
I don't even know what it is.
website. It's a website for hire, and it's free.
We're getting a lot more. It's not free. It does cost us the advertising.
Oh, it does? I'm
It's
sorry.
really made a difference in the amount of
Applicants?
applications. I know it worked really well for myself, and for probate, received, I think, 60 applications for the probate. job.
Really?
It really opens a broader band for advertising,
Although you're probably talking about full-time employment also.
full-time or part-time, right? I think you'll be surprised how much it helps.
I apologize. I thought it was, I guess I missed, I thought it was free. It's
I
not.
need to pay for mine.
They
um,
changed
you
the
don't
law.
have to pay for it.
Okay, so it is no longer then.
You get a lot more exposure if you do pay for it.
Right.
But I got over 45 applicants when I
Really?
put it in there, and I wasn't getting anybody.
But what's your starting wage?
For the one that I had advertised for was $12.90 an hour. And then $14.40 in the summer.
With no,
More responsible.
with no benny,
So I
Not
guess, can I
for
get
the
that
first year.
information from you?
From-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
give it to him.
Okay, yeah, because I had asked before, I had asked you, you put it out. I had my wife put it out on her website. And not a call, not a,
But agreed, that is where majority of people, I look at jobs weekly just to see what's out there. And Indeed is where it's pretty easy to assess, it's easy accessible.
and it takes a special person to be a transit drivers, just not
Yes.
Joe Blow can do it. Some of them don't have the temperament. Only they're dealing with a lot of different,
Complex,
yes,
complex individuals. Agreed.
so. Well, as far as the tire purchase, can I go ahead and buy the tires or?
Yes.
So I thought I had $8,500 on my, written in my budget, but according to what came from the county, it was $8,000. So we'll have to make a budget adjustment for that. But obviously,
That's administrative.
there's a lot of money there to take from, so.
We'll put that on the, for the next meeting. Perfect.
And I'm going to buy some bulk oil to get that filled up. There's some other things that we need to buy from another company to spend some more money before the end of the year. And that's typical. We do it every year. So,
Thanks, Ray.
all righty, and thank you. See ya.
Thanks, Ray. See ya.
We have next Sheriff Brian Gilbert related to the July activity report. Sheriff, come on up.
Not quite sure why that's on there, but July activity report. Did you folks get that? Did I?
We
see
got it right here.
Yep.
Okay.
Looking at it.
You got to remember on the townships, the patrol hours. That's just the designated time to go patrol them townships. That doesn't mean that car never went through that township. So I did highlight that and I turned it over to my sergeant. So we'll make sure that we have something, at least something on that. So,
You're going there because of a complaint.
yeah.
This number of complaints to a township.
Well, we talked
we
about,
can say-
we talked about that, but that takes quite a bit of detail to do with the administration we have now. We don't have the manpower to do that, but not saying that we won't.
Got Excel.
Well, I have to assign somebody to do that. So
Well, just,
we're tapped out. I know, I heard that before and it's not out of the question.
so you guys are running.
Wouldn't that be dispatch?
Yeah, couldn't we just get that from,
Yeah.
they got that,
Yeah.
report. You get it, you used to get it.
I mean,
That's.
you got a computer. Every
Well,
dep comes
it's
in.
already in there. We could grab it from.
Every
dispatch.
dep comes in in front of a computer at the end of the day, I gotta think. At one,
Well,
again,
That's-
no.
Well, I don't want to be argumentative, but that's another task they have to do.
Well,
Sheriff, are you comfortable with us taking the copy of this and taking this to our township meetings?
Oh,
So when they're,
I don't,
okay,
not at all.
so that would be good to follow up with what he's saying
Well,
when I'm at Richland and they
Yeah.
see this, then
Sure, absolutely.
yeah, that's what you wanna say. You wanna say, well, he didn't have
any complaints?
any hours in there, but he was in your town. You had a deputy in your township 4 times because of complaints.
Right.
I mean,
I could work on that. Getting it from dispatch would probably be the easiest thing, because that way we're not double working here. I mean,
are the deputies,
This report is more for your designated patrol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
This is taking place of that highway car. This is what I want to see done. I want to see the car in our communities where they can see. And it deters so much crime just by the car cruising by there. You know?
oh, I get that.
Sure.
It's the Excel, I mean, to pull up an Excel sheet
Well,
is less than a minute. I mean, less than a minute. And they already know where they've been. Just put in the trips they made in those townships that day.
Well, Brad's got it. I
That's
mean,
all.
dispatch is gonna have all that. They could probably just,
print it off.
exactly.
It's just one less task that the patrolman has to do. I
I've
mean,
already seen that report and it's very, very detailed.
That's who you call for a complaint, right?
Exactly.
Dispatch?
and we can eliminate that, just have the numbers of, complaints in each township. I'll have to get with Jesse and see what that's actually capable of doing. But that'd be the simplest thing to do. And that way I'm not putting another task on the road depth.
Okay,
Because the longer they're in there doing reports, the less they're out there.
Just a heads up too, several months ago, I think I was talking with Commissioner Newbecker. He wanted to see that monthly report out of Central Dispatch, just the general report that they were producing for the 911 board. And I called Jesse about that. I said, well, funny thing, our board just met and I asked them if we could discontinue this for a while because it's too time consuming to put together. So just know that when you go there and talk to her, she might push back a little bit, but I don't know their software. I cannot imagine it too difficult just to have a standing template that they populate once a month. Push of a button.
I'll check with her. It's not a big deal.
Seems like there'd be an automated log. Reported
Yes,
all
Yeah.
what do you
calls.
call?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Okay. Oh,
I find this report interesting because if you recall, I think it was the last meeting before, there was somebody from Foster Township here and they said they never see a car. And if you look at the totals, Foster Township's got the most hours of anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that
Oh,
somebody,
yeah, absolutely. You know, and I do that. I say
I
that.
know.
And I've had residents up there say that they see more cars more often. So I've told the sheriff that and I'm able to say that to, you know, they said that right in meetings, you know, and that's great. That's great.
We're going to continue. We're not the full staff. We're in a building process right now. Once we get where we need to be, these numbers will increase. I guarantee it will.
Well, I think you.
Because you're gonna have night patrol up
You
there.
really want to know. I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I think you
Oh, yeah.
really want to track all this stuff. I'm more of a tracker. Excel is a great program for tracking things like that because it's so easy to put the number in. You've already been there, you know, the complaints you've been on today, you know where they're at, just punch in the number, that's all.
won't this be better once GPS, because that's what our auditors recommended I guess it was time cards, but GPS has been brought up as well. And so then that will, I would think with that type of program, that would assist with this as well. When GPS is
certainly
put out
will.
there either on cars or deputies or whatever the plan is going forward.
It certainly will supplement it. And with that, and just depending on the type of tracker you get, I mean, you could even calculate the amount of time, I mean, very specific.
Right.
Now, I don't know what would go into programming the GPS to do that, but I can tell you, it would be possible based on my background. I can tell you that much, but
be nice
certainly
if we have some-
supplementing what you've got there, I think, you know, for sure.
I would think that would assist with them.
No, them and all county vehicles, really. I mean, I think it should be a system that 911 can utilize for safety, for reporting to an accident, you know, getting the police officer to a location maybe you've been before. Also reporting to someone, a downed officer, anything.
Absolutely.
But buses throughout the county, transit.
Transits.
I mean, if we all got together and used BSNA and got a GPS program up and running, I think it would be very beneficial.
Okay. Item 2, invoice for legal services. Sure.
I don't necessarily think this is the right place to talk about an invoice, but I don't know. Do you want
What do you mean?
to proceed with that because there's some things that involves our county attorney, and I don't know if that's fair for me to say anything about him or anything without him not being here. So
We can't go into closed session for this. This is an open discussion.
It is, and in order to get this invoice approved for payment, the board has to vote to do it.
right.
So
Well, I was thinking maybe go through you and then you get with the commissioners. That's just my suggestion.
we've discussed this. It is an invoice for legal services. We've had conversations at this table at least twice. I did communicate both to you and the undersheriff and to that law firm that no costs were to be incurred without board authorization. And so that's the paradox we're in now. Now you have an invoice that
Mhm.
needs to be paid. It's not one that is currently consistent with board policy. And it was one that everybody has been put on notice that without that advanced authorization, there's no guarantee that invoice would be approved. So that's unfortunately the paradox we're in. And that was the intent of informing you and the firm ahead of time before costs were incurred to get the approval of the board.
Right. Yep. I totally understand that. But the sheriff and the sheriff's office has the right for counsel, you know?
The sheriff has the right for counsel. The county has hired counsel.
Okay,
That counsel was made available to you. And we have adopted a policy in the county that says if there is going to be outside counsel, this is the process for securing that. And the big point is it gets approved in advance. We don't incur the bill and then say, oh, by the way, we need to pay this. And in particular, if we're dealing with counsel, the board then has the right to know what counsel is saying and has the right to communicate with counsel, know what they're paying for. And that's the protection. That's the check and balance that was built into the system.
well, this is what raised my eyebrow. Is the internal investigations conducted by my office and the county attorney. Okay, there's two investigations. Attorney-client privilege. In regards to the internal investigation that we're doing and Mr. Meehan is doing. I went to 5 different attorneys, 5. And all 5 attorneys disagreed with Mr. Meehan about the attorney-client privilege, saying that it doesn't apply. So to protect the integrity of the sheriff's office and to protect me, I felt that I needed counsel. I needed counsel bad. I feel that every week there's been layers and layers of things put on this internal investigation, the federal investigation by our county attorney. And I think the reason why the layers and layers has been put on that is for one reason. And that's why I say I don't want to put it out there because I don't think it's right without him being here to defend himself. But I think you can go back to Kirtland College. We all know what happened there. And that's exactly how I felt that our county attorney is doing to me, to pad his pockets. Now, I did reach out to MSA, Michigan Sheriff's Association, who recommended Abbott and Nicholson. Very good firm, and I think you can agree with that. So I reached out to them. I told them what I had at hand, and they said to me that he's fringing on his license, what's happening here. There was some conversation through an email, and I don't think our county attorney replied back to Randy is his name, from Nicholson. After that email was developed, we had met, myself, my undersheriff, had met Thursday on a Tuesday morning, July 16th, 21. We sat in there, then that following week is when the county attorney did a 180-degree turn, not jamming me. 180 degrees, sat right there. And he agreed that our internal report should be at a closed session. That wasn't going to happen if the attorney that I reached out to made contact with him.
Okay, Sheriff, I got to stop you there. Here's my frustration. July 15th, we had a committee of the whole meeting here. We had at least a 30-minute discussion about use of outside counsel. Now, I reviewed that day before yesterday, went on our YouTube page, reviewed the conversation that went back and forth. And the result of that conversation was very clear. The board did not approve consultation with outside counsel. There was no resolution ever passed to do that.
I agree. Yeah.
Very clear on July 15th. And you just told me on July 16th, you're on the phone with outside counsel. You don't think the meter's running at that point?
I agree, but I can't allow somebody to keep putting layers and layers on me for one special reason.
It's
Okay.
the-
What's the reason? I guess you've said that twice now. I'm not following. I really truly am not.
I think you need to tell us that ahead of time and ask us you gotta say all this stuff that you're saying and say, I'd really like to go outside for outside counsel.
I did that.
Will you approve us? Will you approve me to do that at a cost? But you didn't do that because we got now a bill and we've not known that. Thing is I understand your effort to keep the integrity of your office, but we have integrity of this board. We're trying to maintain that. If we're gonna make a policy and then turn around and let you violate that policy, where's our integrity? Where's my integrity of preserving the integrity of the board?
Well, all I know since this happened, it's been completely different. I haven't had him here every week ridiculing me for something that doesn't even occur to me. I mean, January 1, I got dumped with a federal lawsuit, and not only me, every one of us got dumped with that. That's wrong for all of us to have to deal with that. We shouldn't have to.
Well, you know
Well,
how attorneys go.
I
They
guess
sue
why-
everybody.
We don't have to deal with it. I guess a federal lawsuit was brought to us. We have to deal with it.
And we shouldn't have. We
Why?
shouldn't have,
Why?
because it should have been taken care of on the past administration.
I don't disagree with you there.
But that's when they
But they
filed.
also had legal counsel to do what they did. I mean, we've seen all of that, of why this was not addressed at that point in time. So we did what was recommended to us by our insurance agent who was just sitting here, along with our legal counsel, which was to do a basic internal investigation to find out if any of these allegations in that federal lawsuit were actually factual or what was to them. Because if there is wrongdoing, they need to be corrected. Your job is to protect your officers from being wrongfully accused. Your job is not to protect them from wrongdoing.
And I'm not. I don't know why you think I am.
That's not what I said. I said what I feel like your job is to do. So again, the only thing that Greg pushed for was for you guys to do this internal investigation amongst yourself, which I felt there was a lot of resistance to do or reluctance to do. Should that have been done prior to January 1? I believe so, yes, but I'm sure there's reasons of why they didn't. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, there's reasons for sure.
But again, it had to be pushed very hard for that to be done.
And Jenny, sorry to cut you off, but I didn't have a problem with that, doing the investigation. We did it. But you got attorney-client privilege that we have to consider.
You guys drug your feet, really. It
You know-
seemed like
you
an
know what?
extended period of time to
We-
do that
we drug
internal
our- We drug
investigation.
our feet because we did a good internal investigation. You cannot put a timestamp, and I said that before, you cannot put a timestamp on an investigation.
So if you did an internal investigation, then what, out of this $4,000 bill, then you have nothing to worry about. If you did a very good internal investigation and with your findings, there's nothing to worry about. Okay.
Well, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it, but if you notice, since this attorney represented us, sheriff's office, things have settled right down. I actually could see the turn here.
But then you guys held up your end. You did the internal investigation. You followed up with disciplinary action. So I think that goes both ways. You also did your end that we were asking you to do.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that probably has something to do with why everybody is, and then last week, Undersheriff followed up with what you guys are doing forward. So hopefully we don't get more.
Yeah, we're
federal
trying to
lawsuits.
we're trying to move forward. We want to forget about what happened there. We have our own administration that we got to build.
We can't forget about it. We need to correct it.
And I think it is being corrected. I think.
Because wrong is wrong.
I think we're moving forward.
We're talking about an invoice here,
Mhm.
an invoice here that was explained how to get this invoice and how not to get this invoice. And it was explained that you have to come to the commissioners and ask them to hire an attorney's firm.
I agree.
And
I know
You
that.
did not get the approval to hire an attorney's firm, and now the county is being billed for something that we did not approve. And I want to retain the integrity of this commission, because I don't need another elected official, land or department head to go out and just hire an attorney and come back and say, well, Craig, I thought it, in my opinion, I should have got it.
This can be, have you reached out to them to see if they're willing to eat this cost? This law firm?
Do what with it?
to eat this bill?
I believe they won't do that.
Because we had that conversation yesterday.
I don't have an appetite for it.
What I've seen, Sheriff, is, obviously the redacted invoice. I don't know what they claim, what dates they're claiming and so on. I do have the email that I've shared with the board, and I know you've seen it too, dated July 12th, saying, don't incur costs without approval of the board. Board met on the 15th, had the discussion,
Right.
not authorized moving forward. I have no sympathy for the firm that says, well, we're going to ignore the county's wishes and just bill you anyway. And, perhaps you have an arrangement personally with them and it, becomes yours. They know, though, they were on notice July 12th. You don't invoice the county without the authorization. And it's crucial. What the board's expressing to you right now, this is an internal control. It's designed to prevent this very thing, designed to prevent a surprise legal bill from showing up. And again, if the county were to approve that bill, they're entitled to everything that attorney produced. And that means.
And I don't have a problem with that. We merely did that because that was their wishes. I mean, we have
Well, they don't control the purse in the county. And
Well,
that's a very frustrating statement.
I don't have a problem with it. There's nothing on there that I have to hide. Absolutely nothing.
But the bottom line being, everybody was on notice. Everything was done correctly, saying this is not approved and costs were incurred anyway. Well, the board has the option of saying, yeah, we'll pay it anyway, or washing their hands of it. And again, with that internal control in place, this is exactly what it's designed to prevent. Yeah, I wish I could just say, yes, let's approve the bill, but there's just no way I can get around that.
Right.
And
Well,
especially
I understand
everybody
that,
was
but
given, due notice.
I will say, it's calmed down. I don't have him chirping at me every week. And quite frankly, I think he did it for his own pocketbook. And that's not fair for me to say, but I seen that before. And I think we all have. And that's.
Is now on the line if he wants to respond to that.
Well, I care less to talk to Mr. Meehan today because this bill isn't with Mr.
Exactly. It's
Meehan.
got nothing.
It's got nothing to do
Right.
with Mr. Meehan. This is a bill, we've got an elected official that went outside the rules of this commission and incurred a bill. Now, before every meeting, 2 commissioners go over to claims. And they go over to claims to see if something's out of whack. If somebody's gone out and bought something that they shouldn't have bought, then there's a question raised about it. Now, whether it's your department or the other 42 lines of business that we got. I mean, this was a topic at the last township meeting that you and I went to. You were questioned about taking your budget and just putting people in the academy. Well, I explained to that township official that there's certain thresholds that you have to come and ask us for to spend, which is policy. And that's true. And as I explained to that township official, I said, hey, you give your fire department a $50,000 budget at the beginning of the year. If the township board has no say in it, they could blow 49 grand in the first week. And she said, oh, no, we wouldn't let that happen. I said, well, that's what it is. This is check and balance of government. This is what people want, check and balance.
Commissioner Serbrook, do you have anything to add?
Everybody was on notice not to incur the expense. I'm not in favor of paying it.
Okay,
Everybody was on notice.
Well, I can appreciate your frustration. The whole process has been frustrating. But at the same time, you had to have that approved before you went and spent that money. And I believe in our purchasing policy, it does state that you are responsible for any unapproved purchases outside of our policy. I think if we just go ahead and approve this, Brian, we've set a precedent to other people doing the same thing, and then, just doing what they want and asking for forgiveness.
The law firm was on notice as well. And that's not, so you know what? Shame on them.
Yep, you're right.
Shame on them. They knew as well too, so
okay.
they did it at their own
Yeah,
peril.
I'm looking right at the email that was directed right to the law firm. saying that we're not, that this is not approved. So they billed you for something.
Again,
that they
shame on
shouldn't have
them.
billed us.
Hopefully, I mean, maybe you and I talked yesterday, maybe they will forgive it, Brian.
You may not be able to
Possible.
call them again, but
It is possible.
I,
Just want to just state for the record, so that everybody is very clear. Foley and Mansfield did not charge the county beyond the $1,500
not.
that we cited in the resolution. There was no padding of pockets. I'm sure, well, I can guarantee you, the investigation went into a layer of depth that I don't even think the attorneys expected. But they held to the agreement, $1,500, and that's it. There was no padding of pockets, no additional fees associated with that whatsoever. So I would just want to be very clear about that.
Thank you for that. That's a valid point.
but if I may say, that report that he did, hearsay in it, the wrong counties in it, misspelled words, wrong names, and opinions. That makes this report not that well written. So an investigator investigates, an attorney does his attorney stuff. I mean, I'm sure you all read this report, and that's what I see in there.
okay, so are you recommending that we don't pay me in $1,500 for that?
Not for this report. I
Okay,
wouldn't.
that's a good recommendation from you to us not to do that, but this invoice is from another attorney for another service. The
That's,
thing is he presented us with an offer. We reviewed it. We set the parameters ahead of time. That's what we want from the other people that work for the county, is come to us and say, I'd like to hire this attorney's firm for these reasons. And they're gonna charge this much money, and allow us to have that choice whether or not we want to take on that bill. Instead, you superseded the policy and went beyond. You violated county policy. I mean,
I think we're all in agreement with that. I think we're just beating a dead horse.
Right, so
I
let's
think we
move
are.
forward.
You know,
yeah, I agree.
I think everybody's in agreement that we're not paying the bill.
Okay,
okay, I'll
sir.
bring it to him.
4A, we have the deputy medical examiner appointment.
So you see in the packet, the two individuals that Dr. Bush is recommending to be appointed for deputy medical examiner. Clearly qualified individuals, no question about it. And if the board were in agreement, I would prepare the resolution for the next meeting to
Do it.
appoint them.
Do it.
I think that's where I seen the spelling error, so check that.
Okay.
Check that one.
Can I
Sorry, Karen.
clarify something? Craig,
Yeah,
you asked last meeting what the cost was for the county. What
On
we
the-
were
On the
billed
cremation or
on the
whatever.
cremation,
Right.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. That cremation cost is for family. We pay 17,500 quarterly to this company.
That's for all their
For the
services.
services.
for all their services.
Yes,
I was
yes.
just wondering if, my question was like cremations
Just,
alone.
okay,
just
okay.
like
I
a-
just wanted to
That's
specify.
billed,
Just like,
that's
We
billed to
do-
the family.
Okay,
okay.
all right. I just wanted to clarify.
But do
Because I
we
didn't-
give the permit out to cremate?
No, they handle that.
Yeah, they handle it. So really, there's no money exchange here in the county building.
Not for the cremation,
cremation.
but for the company, yes.
For the company, yes.
For our
Yes.
contract.
And,
Yes, yes.
and-
So I just wanted to
and de-
clarify
or-
that.
Or death notice, somebody would come in and buy a death notice from you, right? A copy of the death
Certificate?
certificate. I don't know
Correct.
the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, death certificate.
Mhm.
That they would, but they don't have to pay the county for burial fees or cremation fees or anything
The
else. to do with
families?
Anybody.
They don't pay the county.
They don't pay the
That's for the
county.
funeral home that you're talking
Exactly.
Right.
about.
That's
Right.
fine. That was my question.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know if it was on the level of a wedding of a marriage license or a death certificate or something
Right.
like that. That's all my question
Okay,
was.
all right. I just wanted to
If there
clarify
was,
that because
then
I
I want to
wasn't
make sure
sure,
we make money off.
because that's quite a bit of money that we pay out.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
with you.
yeah.
So that $17,500 is what we pay them quarterly. In the previous, we were paying Dr., is it Caston?
Caston,
Yeah.
individually.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
Pardon me?
You guys were paid individually also.
Yeah,
So it's nice just knowing this amount. And I really appreciated him coming here and giving us that report and seeing how they're growing. And so we'll put that on for the next meeting.
Right.
The cremation fees, item 4B.
Okay,
Same thing.
same.
Same thing.
Just to clarify, I think at the last meeting, I said, well, we could just approve this as our regular fees when we do the budget. Well, we already did that. So we would need a resolution to actually add this to our fee schedule. Okay.
Of the $63, is that the fee that we're looking at?
That's what the board wants to do. That's what'll be in the
Yes.
resolution.
We want the minimum. And that's what Dr. Bush recommended as well, correct? Okay. So you'll put that on as well?
I will.
4C, Emergency Management Coordinator Contract.
This contract was in fact riddled with spelling errors, punctuation and everything else. I've tried to catch most of it. The gist of it is this, the contract that we have right now with Mike Bowers for doing our emergency management coordination is up. It's expiring. This contract will be a 3-year contract, take us through 2024. There is an increase of $3,000 per year. So it puts it at about $28,000 per year. That is the median number for emergency management coordinators in Michigan. So it is some justification for it. The balance of what you see in here, other than some grammar changes and so on, the gist of the agreement is exactly what you've had for a number of years with Mike. Would continue to be paid in 12 equal installments and so forth. There is, like most of our contracts, a clause in here that if either side wishes to terminate, there can be done with 30 days notice. So a very basic contract, but it would keep Mike Bowers as our emergency services coordinator for another 3 years.
Does he want to continue?
He does.
Because he's been doing this, well, he was fresh when we started, so that was 4 years.
Yeah, it's about 3 years.
Yeah,
How long is this one for?
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
He's on the cusp of a lot of things coming to fruition. The Smart 911 app is now operational. In fact, I'll be doing an email blast to the employees with directions on how to get that. And I don't know if any of you are signed up for that yet. This goes back to that whole rave contract that we had a few months ago. But over the last week, when all the storms are coming through, this app will alert you, like right now. I'll warn you, be careful what you ask for, because you have options for text message, email, or telephone. And if you leave it at default, you're going to get all three. And if the storm comes through at 3:45 a.m., your phone will ring. And
Unless I do that disturb like mine is.
so that is, he said it would be fairly soon. That
Yeah,
is up and
So
running.
it is up, and there was one minor problem with the sign up. Some of Ogemaw County sign up information was listed under Alcona County, so you would miss it, but Mike has since corrected that, so that should be operational. So the instructions are pretty easy to follow once you get to the app, but like I said, I'll blast out an email and tell you where to go to get it, and you can enter your stuff. Really good system. And it's going to have a lot of utility to it, depending on how much personal information you want to put into it. But it would identify your address. You can tell the number of people living at the home, if there are pets, anything else in the structure that maybe somebody should know about.
Predict a tree falling on somebody's house.
It might.
Well, I can predict that.
Maybe a small fee for that algorithm to be added, but yeah. So it's, I think something that would have an awful lot of utility, and in an emergency, the more information clearly the first responders can have, the better. So it'll be up to the individual how much of that they want to share. But I think, very exciting step forward. And again, thanking Mike for doing that. He took the lead and got it up and running.
Mike's had kind of a mess fall into his lap this past year and a half. I mean, with this pandemic, and I think he's done very well, and he's got a lot of resources with his background in EMS, and I think he's done a
I
very
gotta
good job.
say, not only is experience and everything, but he's kept us in the loop. On
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
I mean, he's come to our meetings, explained things. I know he's contacted me personally on a number of different things throughout his tenure. I mean, I am very impressed with the amount of communication and openness that he's expressed.
He's came to my office, yeah, and he had some big shoes to fill there when, what was her name? Buffy? Yeah, I mean, so I agree, he's done a very good job.
Very well, and I don't think we should go into any kind of looking
Nope.
another way.
No,
I'd like to-
So go ahead and put that on. You guys agree?
Yep.
Okay,
Wholehearted.
put that on for the next, 4, we already did D and E. 4F is the wall of honor. Rick,
I shared your email
you did.
with the board so they see the
Yep.
sequence.
I talked to LaDonna yesterday about this. She, just with everything going on in my office, having 2 new people in training and me being new, she said she would take control of it, and whatever time frame we decide she's good with. The Democratic Party will sponsor the the food, the hors d'oeuvres or whatever after. Yeah, so I wanted to bring it to you guys so that we could get a time frame of what your thoughts are when we can do this with COVID numbers not going down. What's your thoughts?
I just want to make sure that people don't think it's been forgotten.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a,
Well, and we are going to honor a lot of people
correct.
at the next time, which is going to bring more people together, and with the COVID numbers and the concerns and all that. Yeah, it shouldn't be. I don't want people to think that it's forgotten either.
Can we just send a notice out to at least the immediate family member, just letting them know that this has been postponed, this is why, this has not been forgotten, as soon as we are in a good place countywide, that we are planning on moving forward, but just so they know that again, we haven't forgotten.
Yeah, so right now we have the 4 people.
And-
Doc Ray, Harold Smith, Scott Colglazier, and Bruce. Yeah. So, yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, that's fine, but I think we need to for sure get past September, October 1st before we got a lot of things going on in September. But-
I don't think that, I
that
think
stuff.
with COVID.
It's probably gonna be
positively has to
next spring.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
We'll do an outdoor
Can
thing.
we
So I
do
mean,
an
it's-
outdoor thing? Yeah.
that's what they wanted. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
intent.
I-
Then we're running out of warm weather. So, and with the COVID numbers,
Don't make
I don't
anybody
feel-
uncomfortable. I mean,
Exactly.
this is a big deal, as it
it
should be,
is.
family members, so I just want them to know again that they haven't been forgotten.
Yeah. It's funny that everybody, if it involves any taxes, they don't mind running to Aranac County and getting involved in a big meeting, you know.
This is
Like Mike
this is the
Mason
honor.
said, Could have been a big spreader, you know.
Agreed, but this is the honor that is deceased,
I
and
get
they
it.
deserve
I
it,
get
you
it.
know.
I get it. It's just they'll gather for one reason, but not another. Yeah. That's why.
You'll do that.
Yep.
Anything else on that,
No.
Commissioner Record? No? Next, we have Kirtland Community College millage.
I don't have any movement on that. See, Greg is on the Zoom. I don't know if he has anything new.
Mr. Meehan?
Okay, great. Sorry, someone let me go. I do have some updated material that I'd like to be able to speak with you in at our next meeting in closed session, if you wouldn't mind, with regard to some contacts that I've made both at the state level and including the governor's office and the AG's office. And so it is not anything that's going to permit us to be able to move at this point in time to remove that millage. But there are things that we can do and should be doing to put ourselves in a position to be able to contest any renewals and to evaluate whether or not the prior statutory requirements have been met. And I would like to limit that comment at that point, if you would all please permit, because I would like to keep that amongst the board members. I can provide an update by way of emails, but and put the attorney-client privilege on there. But because there's no litigation, it would not be protected necessarily. So if I could have a closed session, I would enjoy that opportunity, if you would not mind. In a public comment, I would like an opportunity to respond to the sheriff's comments. I'm still sitting on the other side of this phone, unbelievably flabbergasted at some of the ignorance of the comments, but I'll save that for public comment.
Yeah, there is opportunity for public comment here.
Don't forget, public comment's only 3 minutes long.
Oh, I won't be. I'll be 35 seconds. It's that easy.
Okay, hold on. So we're gonna put the Kirtland on the next week. Is next
Yes.
week enough adequate time, Mr. Mann?
That is correct, and I'll be there in person, and thank you.
Okay. We have next the ORV ordinance.
There's no update, and I'll reiterate what I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, and this is unfortunately not a top priority at the moment. We've got a number of things that are time sensitive we need to have done by the end of the month. So hopefully by the time we get to October, we can revisit this. We were talking about consulting with the townships and making sure that that ordinance is what we all hope it would be.
Okay.
So does this, and I'm probably 100% off base here, does this ordinance also apply to snowmobiles?
No. this
So
is-
just side by sides?
Well, I don't know the terminology.
I don't either.
ATV,
Yeah.
all-terrain, unlicensed all-terrain.
So we're almost beyond that season. So I mean, we have time to come up with
Not necessarily.
Nowadays.
close in September.
Well, no, people ride it in the winter.
I-
Yeah, it's year round.
I understand, but we're still getting into the next.
It is,
Okay.
but they do run year round, and we're talking about the roadways. We're not talking about anything in the woods
Right.
or off the road. We're talking about the roadways. So if they cannot operate anytime in a winter time or anywhere in the winter time, it's gonna be on the roadway. So, you're saying, what are our rules going to be to operate these on a roadway? Okay, and in the wintertime, I face it, these people got heaters and everything in these things, and they're running them to the store, to the restaurant and whatever. I mean,
Is there anybody out there, Mr. Coleman has not been at the last couple of meetings, that is enforcing the ORV ordinance?
you have to ask the sheriff that he's under.
Is there anybody, Sheriff, that's enforcing this? There is, okay. So we will continue to put that on the agenda. That way it's not forgotten.
We don't lose it.
Okay, next we have fiscal year 2022 budget.
Yeah, I voted this morning. You can see the very last item on there, and I do have hard copy if you can't pull it up, but I did want to at least bring you up to date on where everything stands. And I'll start by talking about the millages, and glad Randy's here, very timely, thanks. Randy prepared an equalization report earlier this year that was adopted, and that includes a taxable value. So we use that number as the foundation when we calculate what these millage rates are. And you can see on the very top, if all the millages were approved at their maximum rates, the type of revenue that they would generate. Now, I'll say this about the projected revenue from this. This is a moving target. So Randy's done his report in April. We're basing everything off those numbers and doing our calculations. But if there's a lot of property turnover, you might have properties that get uncapped, which means suddenly the values are still there, but rather than having a capped value, there's more value to it, I guess, to do your arithmetic. You'll see each year these projections are put together on what the revenue is, and they're in the ballpark, but we tend to be conservative when we put them into the budgets. We want to make sure, okay, there's task captures to be concerned about and everything else. We're very conservative. Road patrol millage is an excellent example where we budgeted roughly $800,000 this year for it, but there was considerably more than $800,000 that it generated. And next year at 1 mil, it's looking at about $917,000. And that probably is low when we compare to what we end up with at the end of the year and all the movement happens. So just when you see those numbers, understand that we are being conservative. You know, we don't want to err on the wrong side of this and end up with deficits. But at the same time, just understand that these are probably lower than what we will end up with. Now, the next set of numbers is to tell you where we are right now with the general fund and what the budget's looking like for 2022. Really basic summary, just the department requested revenue, and we see department request, and all the departments have revenue, so some of us are putting together the estimates just on the general revenue coming in, but roughly 10,844,000. The department requested expenditures are at 10,732,000. So already we're sitting in a pretty decent spot, just in terms of surplus versus deficit. Other factors that are calculated into this. One is several months ago, we adopted a resolution about reserves and how we want to do work with the reserves, and a lot of discussion about weaning ourselves from the delinquent tax revolving fund. This revenue reflects a 25% reduction with hopes of, by the end of 4 years, we're not tapping into revolving fund anymore. Something that I've really got to pay attention here to over the next few days as I develop this, it concerns the ARPA money. When the final rules, and I'm not sure they are finalized yet, but when the Department of Treasury issued the funds under ARPA, they included a calculation called lost revenue. A calculation that had us look at several years worth of revenue and come up with an estimate of how much revenue has been lost because of COVID. Now, remember, the entire award to Ogemaw County was just over $4 million. Going through the federal government's approved calculations, which were also, it wasn't just that source. We also went through the Government Finance Officers Association and compared to make sure everything was right. According to those calculations, the entire amount could be considered lost revenue, and the entire $4 million could then therefore be transferred into the general fund over the time of the ARPA program. Not suggesting we do that, but just understand that calculation's been done. That calculation not only will impact the 22 budget, but it will impact the 21 budget as well. So we will be doing a budget or proposing a budget amendment that would take care of the lost revenue for 21, which means all likelihood, when we are all finished with the 21 budget, there will be a surplus there. I'm going to suggest very strongly that we now revisit the policy that we adopted earlier this year about reserves and begin building those reserves and start reserving some of those funds. Yes, we will have projects where those monies will be applied to, but as we said, we need to build that fund balance. We need to build that reserve fund, which we actually passed an ordinance to do, to lock some of that money away in case there is a situation in the future. There'll be reserves to pull from. That's where we are right now with the general fund. The next one, and sort of the fund of the hour, is the road patrol fund. Let's walk you through the lines that are on here. Right now, projected fund balance at the end of the year, and I'm going to tell you right now, big asterisk on this, this is a worst case scenario. I think the surplus will actually be more, but for certain, it looks like there'll be about 375,000 in there, or roughly a 46% fund balance, which is huge. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be more. So working backward, then we do have a proposed budget from the department right now. It sits at 893,000, meaning if all of those numbers turn out to be absolutely right, the amount of revenue needed for 22 would only be 518,000. Going back up now to that top one, you can see 1 mil generates 917,000. So there is no need to assess the entire millage. Now, again, on the worst case, if you drop that millage rate down to 0.7 mils or 0.7 of a mil, that's going to generate 642,000, leaving a fund balance of 124,000 at the end of 22. But as I said, put an asterisk on that because we'll have more bills rolling in, and as time progresses here at the end of the year, that actual need for fiscal year 21 will become much clearer. I think that 375 number will go up. That means you could reduce the millage even further. So we'll just continue to monitor that as the invoices are input for the balance of the year. Last thing I have on this page, we are either fortunate or unfortunate, depending how you look at it. There's an extra Thursday this month on September 30th. If you would indulge me, please, and reserve that date on your calendars right now, because I'm looking at a workload that's going to probably push us out to September 30th to actually have the meeting to adopt the budget. You don't have details yet. Now, I've seen the details. There just hasn't been time to produce that in a format that you can see it yet. Next week, we're a little lighter on negotiation dates, but heavier on holiday dates. All right, so we've got to factor that in. You still need to see all this detail. And thankfully, there is that extra day in there, or extra week that we might have in our back pocket. If we don't need to meet on the 30th, we won't. But if you would just circle that on your calendars now.
That'll be a special meeting.
Be a special meeting, and the only item on the agenda would be the fiscal year 22 budget.
So I guess I'm looking at this. What are you proposing for this road patrol fund as far as withdrawing?
Well, I'm going to be coming back to you with the recommended
Millage rate?
rate.
Okay,
Yeah, and it will. I'm only hesitant because I haven't dissected everything that's in there. I'm sure it's fine, but we're doing some other things concurrent with all this. We want to make sure that the budget is lined up with where we want it. Another issue to consider, and we'll certainly put pen to paper on this. We know that when the fiscal year starts on October 1, we still will not be staffed at 100%. So while we are going to present you a budget that says we are, just so you can see the numbers, that's going to impact what we truly need. And looking at probably a best case scenario, a 90-day turnaround just to get the bodies in position. We also know that based on the competition for the officers out there in the state, we're probably not going to be filled even after 90 days completely. So we can factor that in and perhaps reduce that millage assessment even more by the time we're finished. But that's the kind of detail work that we still have in front of us to get done between now and the end of the month.
how many years is on that millage?
Or five. I'd have to look it up.
I can probably.
So each year, can that be reevaluated? So,
It's 4 years. Every millage.
so that's, hang on. So that's my question. So we could make a decision not to collect this next upcoming year. And then once we are fully staffed, everything's up and running, then the following year we can reevaluate that and then pull back out?
You could. I can guarantee you, I'm not going to recommend reducing it to zero because there have been expenses and obligations that we've already put on it for this year. But it won't be 1 mil either. It will be somewhere in between by the time we're finished.
I just want to know if that's an option.
It is an option.
Okay. So more to come on that.
Yes.
And that's it for
It is a 4-year millage.
your,
That's just like the general operating millage, the one on the very top. That's what we operate on here.
Yep.
We make a decision on that every year too, whether or not we want the whole thing or not. Of course, if we're running any kind of deficit, we need every bit of it. If we were at a surplus and we didn't have the expenditures, our expenditures were a whole lot less in revenue, we may be able to drop that one.
so really each one of these villages, I'm sorry,
Yeah, each one of them.
needs to be looked at.
You have to adapt it
To
every
see if
year.
they have spent the, I mean, this past year and a half has changed a lot of things to see if those monies need to be pulled out of MSU extension. If they haven't spent that money, then why?
Mhm.
Along with transit, that's what I was asking Ray, if he's
Right.
got $100,000 surplus, do we need to pull that 0.3 out?
Right. And we'll want to look at what that surplus does to its current fund balance. And if that's all there is in the fund balance, leave it alone. But
Agreed, but we need to evaluate all of them,
Yeah.
not just,
a
But
couple of,
he may not be able to take like Department MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, pay for fixing the truck, fixing the bus. He may not be able to use that money for that, or he may not be able to use that for wages. He can use it for certain things. It's not really grant money, but it's a dedicated revenue
It's earmarked
stream.
for specific
right?
Yeah.
But we need to evaluate all these millages.
Absolutely.
If we don't have to
Every year
pull
we
those
do.
amounts out
Absolutely, every year.
because of how this past year and a half has been, then we shouldn't.
Correct,
People are struggling right now with
Correct.
inflation.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Is that it on that?
Sit on that.
Okay, so can I make closed session? Can I do public comment prior to closed session? That way there's no more business after closed session and people don't have to hold on the line if they don't wish to. So we're gonna do the final, sorry, Breck. We're gonna do the final public comment prior to closed session. So we're gonna do 5 public comment. On December 10th, 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved Resolution 20-77 to adopt rules of procedures that include a structure for public comment. Each meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for public comment. The first public comment period is limited to topics that appear on the meeting agenda. A second public comment period is reserved for public statements on any matter or issue that is relevant and germane to county government. Persons who wish to address the board are required to comply with the following. 1, state your name for the record. 2, speak only to the chairperson. 3, stand behind the podium when speaking. 4, limit comments to 3 minutes or fewer. And 5, follow the direction of the chairperson when speaking. Board rules do not impose restrictions on subject matters. However, failure to follow the direction of the chairperson will result in not being able to talk or being removed from the meeting. The board chairperson reserves the right to sound the gavel when the audience applauds or derides a speaker. The board thanks you in advance for your compliance with these rules. Any public comment in the room? No public, come on up, sir.
Yeah,
Your name?
Steve Johnson.
Okay.
And I live in Clacking Township, but we just went over the budget about the night patrol.
Mhm.
Okay, and I understand there's expenses and stuff like that, but from a taxpayer standpoint, we've been paying since January for night patrol and we have got nothing for our money, no service. And now there's an upcoming, the winter taxes are coming up in December. I don't feel that we should be assessed for that at all until all this other money that we've already paid in advance is used up. Because from a like a taxpayer standpoint, I don't know about the expenses and stuff that you guys have incurred, but we have not had a night patrol since January when we were supposed to get one. So what are we paying for?
Thank you. Is that, oh,
That's what my question, what are we paying for?
agreeable?
Do you have expenses or a night patrol?
Well, technically, we're,
It's not as simple as just night patrol. It doesn't, the millage.
That's the way it was.
No, wait a minute.
Well, hold on.
No. You might have been told by somebody one thing, sir, I made the motion. I know exactly what it is, sir.
I'm reading the newspaper to get
Okay.
information.
All right.
Okay.
okay,
this is
first,
the
hold
place to
on,
come
right
now.
here is where the conversation is supposed to go. I appreciate your comments very, very much. We're obviously, as you just heard, we are going to be further discussing this at the next meeting as far as what we're going to do with this millage. Agreed, there's been unfortunately, the sheriff has ran into a lot of roadblocks with retaining, recruiting, where we're at. I hear your frustrations 100%. We're hearing them at every one of our townships as well when we go to these meetings. I appreciate your comment, and there's more to come on that.
Okay, and then I still have more time, right?
You have about 30 seconds.
Okay, well, the other is concerning the county attorney. I've been following, my wife's very involved with the Kirkland thing. When he first got started, he's, this is unconstitutional. I'll get this dropped. I've had much experience on 3 or 4 other cases. I think he spoke way before he actually did any work investigating and stuff. I'm not too impressed by him. Now it's after several hours, he probably billed the county taxpayer money again. Now it's a whole more complicated thing. Maybe you guys as a board should look at a more competent or more experienced county attorney.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir. Thank you for your
Okay.
thank you for your comments.
All right, you're welcome.
Is there any other public comment? Come on up, ma'am.
Colleen Johnson. As an attorney, you mentioned that you guys are having a closed session next week and you got with the state government attorney generals. anyways, and then he mentioned contest any renewals. I don't know how you can contest any renewals when 2 or the 3 items on for the taxes is there's no ending date. So how does he expect that's going to happen? And after you have your close-ends meeting next week, will we know something right after you guys are in closed session? If you come out and you're gonna say, this is where we stand?
We don't know that yet because we haven't went into closed
that's what I'm
session
saying.
and how much we're able to verbalize with the public, but the more information, when we know the information, we'll pass that on. But I thank you for following this very, very closely and all the research that you've done on it.
Thank you. That's it.
Any other public comment? Any public comment on the phone? Mr. Meehan?
Sure, I'll be very brief. I do understand the frustrations of the people in the public with regard to this millage issue. And, you know, I wish there were things that we could communicate to them that happened in closed session that originally provided my initial opinion as to when this millage was initially created. And if it had been created prior to this period of time, my statements to this board were 100% correct, as I've destroyed at least 15 millages of the similar nature in my career. What we found out, as the board knows, that this millage dates back to a time period that neither this board nor I nor LaDonna, who had looked at this, nor anyone else had voiced an opinion on this, understood and knew. You can, I guess, go find someone that has more educational experience than my 32 years, but the facts is what had changed. The opinion and the assumptions and beliefs have done that. Number two, the ignorance of the sheriff, with all due respect, in the investigation is apparent, and it's sad. A report always has hearsay. Everything that you take a statement from someone is hearsay as a matter of law. And that really concerns me about a law enforcement officer not understanding that. Number two, that the report has opinions. Exactly. That's what you asked me to do. Number three, that the opinion has the wrong counties. Well, you know, when you take statements from people, you're supposed to quote the statements as they've stated them. And if the people make a wrong statement or wrong place or wrong idea, I don't change statements. That's called fraud. I don't make things of that nature. And fourthly, with regard to a typo, yes, there was a typo with regard to one of the individual's names on a 30-some report. So I would suggest to the board, we spent $22,000 on an investigation that involved every enforcement agency in this state and over 15 different individuals to try to get to the truth, that if the sheriff would have provided the truth straight out, we wouldn't have to spend a dime. Maybe a dictionary would be in order, which can define these terms such as hearsay and opinion would be in order. And I'd be more than willing to spring the money and send that dictionary to the sheriff. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Meehan. Is there any other public comment? Any public comment on the phone? No public comment, so we are going to,
I would make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss contract negotiations. Support.
we have a motion to go into closed session to discuss contract negotiations. We need a roll call on that.
Craig Scott,
Yes.
Mark Serbrook,
Yes.
Brad Newbecker,
Yes.
Jenny David.
Yes,
Ron Vaughn's absent.
just want to make it perfectly clear that there will be no business after we come out of closed session. So those who do not want to hang around. I didn't see him walk out.
He walked out right after he was done.
Bathroom break.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's no.
Sent him everyone except for last
Well,
week.
I'll talk to Tom. It's just
Okay.
matter PDF and I'm posted them.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah,
we're good.
I'll look and
I was trying to find something the other day.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
hold on. I need one. I need one. I need
went back
another
in.
one.
We went it back into open session.
No, we
We came out of closed
And I made the
You and
motion to
Mark,
go back into
and
open.
you did
Thought that's the same motion.
It's not.
No, it's two separate. We tried last time.
We tried, and when we were doing minutes, we had an issue.
Oh, my God.
All right, who seconded you?
I did
Okay, and then you made a motion to adjourn at
10:20.
10:20.
And I,
We have to vote on
and I
it.
supported.
Motion adjourned, all in favor?
Aye,
Opposed? Motion adjourned. Thank you, guys.
thank you, everybody on the call.